wrapped up and regarded as no more than sick. This was the night on which his ritual death was due. In our lives, we're admired for holding back grief. For the Torajas, there are times and places to let it go. I learnt something good from Tato here about the Toraja way of dying. The relatives gather and stretch out their legs, and the one who is dying lies across them, gripped by the arms of those alongside him and supported by the whole of the family. In an unsignalled movement, the body is turned from the east-west sleeping axis to the north-south death axis. Nedena is now quite dead. The new high priest can be crowned. I was puzzled by the ritual. No sign of rehearsal for a ceremony that last took place 80 years ago. But the bare bones of the action, the crowning, the speaking, came in a strict order. Perhaps that was what mattered. Tato's new title is Tomenani, the one who sings. He summons the ancestors and the spirits and introduces himself as the new priest to the high god. It struck me, comparing the Torajas with, say, the Christians, that the Christian god is assumed to be all-knowing, whereas the Toraja divinities seem inattentive. They have to be summoned, informed, warned, and flattered. Tato tells the buffalo why she's going to die. She has to accompany the dead man's soul on its journey to the land of the souls. The spirits are warned to stand clear to avoid being wounded, so everyone is alerted. If you don't want to watch, look away now. It'll all be over when I speak again. I had a few words with myself before the first round of animal sacrifice and decided not to look away or feel sick or raise some interior objection. After all, I was a guest and would soon be offered a hunk of meat to take home on a meat hook, so the least I could do was take an interest. The whole of this interior monologue would surely strike a Toraja as insane. If you eat meat, you have to kill it. If God provides meat, you have to thank him. If you eat your meat on some very special day, you tell the animal beforehand where he's going and why, and you do it in the open. Perhaps the way to revolt a Toraja would be to shove him in the direction of a giant western slaughterhouse and tell him we like beefsteak and pork chop, but daren't watch the animals die. The festivities went on for 5 days. No funeral in living memory had been quite like it. Nobody could turn up wearing black. If they had any choice in the matter, they should wear yellow, for the high priest presides at the great rice rituals, and even his death should be lively. This woman's a leper, and her brain has turned. She haunts funerals, and I can't get her out of my mind. In a tidier society, she would be out of sight. There was a great deal of giving of presents. At first, you think, how generous. But each of these offerings, whether it's pigs, palm wine, or chickens, turns out to be a debt. Either a debt paid off to Tato or chalked up for him to pay back later. I asked Eric what happens if a person doesn't pay his debts.
I think he'd pretty much be opting out of the social relations in the village community.
As well as 10 water buffalo, Tato accepted 40 pigs. 40 pigs, 10 water buffalo is a lot, isn't it?
Right, that's just, in terms of pigs, I mean, absolutely minimal.
Now, doesn't that put him in a terrible position if he's got to pay back to the people? There's pigs, there's water buffalo. Isn't he bankrupt?
Jadi kitanya tidak dianggap sedikit sukar karena walaupun saudara Tato masih muda, sudah kena hutang banyak.
Iya, iya.
Dianggap berat kah atau bagaimana?
Berat sebenarnya. Tapi ini datangannya dari pihak-pihak keluarga. Kita tidak bisa tampung mereka.
He said that actually there are two ways of bringing pigs and water buffaloes to these festivals. And one way it's just offered in terms of good heart, but the majority would be repaid sometime in the future.
Does it give him a headache?
Jangan-jangan pusing dengan semua hutang ini.
Itu kan kita harapkan dari...
It doesn't really give me a headache because here's what we hope. We hope that the soul of his father, Nedena, maybe in the future can come back and help us out.
The more I learned about Tato, the more remote he seemed to be from the search I'd hoped I was making. He wants to work in an office to administer the way of the ancestors. He wants space on the timetable to teach it in government schools. He wants things written down in a book, and he isn't alarmed by the tourists. He wants, in a word, to be modern. Nadena's farewell to his home was a meal laid out on the coffin lid to give his soul strength for its journey.
I remember traveling around Mexico many times, the Indian villages, and people would always say to me, "Oh, you should have come here about 10 or 20 years ago. Things are really interesting then." And the question is, what's going to happen in the future here? Will Toraja ceremonies become commercialized? Culture for sale? Will people do things only because they're paid?
What seems to be worrying Eric is the very thing that many Torajas would think of as progress. Yet who are we to tell anyone that their strength is their booklessness, their strength is their churchlessness, their strength is their lack of bureaucracy, when they can see for themselves that Islam prospers with a book, Christianity prospers with a church, and government prospers with a block of offices.